Hey Nicole, alright, so here's the spread. So what I did was I set an intention this time to just bring forward the most relevant aspect for you to see. So I'm kind of opening up the board a little bit here, from past life to whatever might come through. So again, all I'm going to do is we're going to go through where you are, what you do with the majority of your time, and a couple of important days with the death and lesson. But again, we're going to be open to what might come through because after having multiple past lives read, and getting to know someone, I like to just open it up a little bit because I really don't want any kind of bias coming through. So I'm just opening up so that I can just let anything come through. And we'll go from there and see what happens. And it's also about the most relevant as far as what you need to hear at this time. So we're going to go with this. And this is relatively new, so bear with me. So all I'm going to do is relay to you images and impressions I'm getting. And again, for you, just make connections where you can, and I will try however I can. And so let's start. Before we go to where you were, I do want to say as soon as I opened this up, as I was shuffling to other aspects of yourself coming through, there was more than one. So the first one that came through as like this very, like this, I want to say it felt Atlantean. So it felt like ancient, but of course time is an illusion. So, you know, what does that mean? But this is a Atlantean aspect that came through. And it was this a bit darker skinned man dressed in golden, not attire, but it felt like this guy was like a fighter. Like it felt like there was like, almost like if you've ever seen the movie Stargate, the original Stargate movie, and they go into that wormhole and end up in that place that kind of reminds you of Egypt, but it's like a warped ancient Egypt where there are like aliens and deities involved and stuff like that. So it feel like, I'm only saying that because that's what it feels like. It feels like this is a version of Atlantis, or hey, I mean, I didn't live there. I don't know what it's like. Maybe this was how it was like, but it feels like at least it was some version of you in Atlantis or in legendary places, or a place that's no longer here that we've only heard about, kind of thing. And it feels like this person stepped forward and was very like bold and loud and precise with the actions. And I feel like this person is coming through as like a strength warrior for you, and it feels like they're also coming through with that feeling as like a message for you to be precise in your decisions, like make a decision and go with it and stop going back and forth or being on the fence or something like that. Being in lingo like that isn't really going to serve you. All it's showing you is that you have a hard time making decisions. So either commit to one thing or commit to the other, because there's always the opportunity to make another decision later on. And usually the decisions where it requires like a deadline, like a time for you to do it, like, oh, we have to know by today at 4 o'clock, you got to know. Usually those aren't the best ones to go with, because we find that like the soul decisions, the ones that are good for the soul, those aren't the ones that are going to give you a time, like a timeline kind of thing, if that makes sense. So anyway, I feel like that was coming through. It can also be just a connection for you to make with a male energy, which you might need masculine energy at this time. So they might have shown you, hey, you were this brave male warrior. Kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for, is more like, it's not like brave. I mean, it's brave, but it's more like aggressive. So like very just like into what he's doing, fully committed to his role in that life. And so that could be another connection you could be making, kind of a message of, it almost feels like if there's any percentage of you that is not fully committed to what you're doing in your life, that's where the decision is. Either make the decision to fully commit or make the decision to move a different way, but make a decision. And it's not like something's coming up that's like, make a decision or you're going to die in 20. It's not like that or anything, you know? It's just like, that's all it's saying is like, hey, you'll probably be happier once you make a decision, whatever the decision is. Because once you make I can't speak today. Once you make the decision, what you're going to do is you're going to clear off a whole shelf that's loaded with the burden of decision making, and you're going to be clearing space in you for other things. For example, let's say you make a decision or a choice and you go down that road. Now that that choice is, or the decision has been made and it's off the shelf, now there's that shelf space to fill up with what to do now that you've made the decision, right? So there's this message of like trusting that once you make a decision, whatever it may be, you have to trust that it's the right decision, whatever it may be at the time. And then you have to move forward. And that's part of the process. And a lot of people are so scared of making a decision because they don't know the next step. But this is telling you what's coming through is that the next step is going to come. Like the information and everything that you need in order to be happy and move forward with whatever decision that is going to show up on the shelf as soon as you clear the shelf from the decision that needs to be made, because it's taking up a lot of space. So keep that in mind. But that interesting guy came through. It's like very vivid. I can almost draw him for you. I kind of want to, because he's young and he is like, it's not like he's muscly or anything. He's actually, it's almost like he's wiry but very, very strong. Because it feels like he's not even fully grown. Like it's almost like maybe like a late teenager, and he's still like developing his body, like, you know what I mean? But he's still very like, it feels like it's a lifetime role that he's in, and he's committed to it. So anyway, it also feels like it's like kind of a generational thing. You can make connections to all this kind of thing, whether it's the line of work you're in. Is that generational? Do you have a mother or father that you feel is sensitive? Like, it can even be about your work, things like that. So now what happened here? Okay, so that was one thing, and then now we're here, so let me focus on this. I just had to tell you about that. Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, so we're getting the this, like, obviously here we go, is the island card, and what came through is that it's an island, and this feels like a female life is what's coming through here. So I'm trying to see, so this female life here is pretty demure. It feels like she's demure. In the sense of like doing what she's told, playing the role. Kind of a quiet disposition, kind of a gentle soul kind of deal. And it feels like she works a lot bent over. And so this, what she does with the majority of her time card, this is the laborer card. So there's work involved, and it feels like she spends her days working. I'm trying to see what it is, because it feels like she's working that where it's not like a factory, but it feels like it's the kind of thing where that's all she does all day is like sew something or mend things all day and gives them back. So it's almost like this is someone, maybe a seamstress, but it feels like it's a seamstress that is not in, hold on. It feels like she's not in any kind of concrete jungle or a city, honestly. It feels like she's on the outskirts of a city, or if there is a city, it's like a town. So I feel like we're actually looking at a place that is what we would consider, it's almost like Puerto Rico. Is what it feels like. It's almost like it feels like Puerto Rico, of like somewhere around there. Oh my god, I feel stupid. Is Puerto Rico an island? Oh my god. Okay, well, it feels like it's that, or there's a P word and it's an island, and it feels like it's more like, it feels like there's a healthy dose of like island lifestyle, but also there is a town nearby, and even further a city, but like for tourists or whatever. But it feels like you're on the outskirts of where the tourist area is, and you just spend your days like, again, tailoring or seamstressing or even washing too. It feels like you just work with clothes, and people drop off their clothes to you and you give them back to them, and it feels like you live in kind of a rural setting. So that's really interesting. So this woman also spends her days, by the way, they're showing her to me, bending over and stooping. So in your current life, basically, if you have neck or back issues, or you feel stiff a lot, this would be a message for you to definitely get up and do some stretching and do some, whether you like yoga or Pilates or just walking, hiking, whatever it is, you need to move your body more, it feels like, especially if you feel like your body's getting stiff, or your body is, you know, you might say, oh, I'm changing because I'm getting older, and that's all well and good and probably true and whatever, but if you have back, neck, shoulder thing going on, or if you have a natural stoop or whatever it may be, that could be a connection here, because it is showing her doing this all the time. So this also can be the kind of thing where if you feel like you get so focused in on your work that you forget other things, or if someone were to call your name, you would like not hear them the first time, that kind of thing. That could be an indicator of a connection here as well, because it feels like she got so into her work, it really took over her mind. And then there's this other thing about it where while it was taking over her mind, she would daydream a lot. And it feels really interesting because I feel like she's literally basically like along the water where she lives in a very small dwelling, possibly with a family, but yeah, it feels like there's like family, but the family, everyone has their own roles to play or do. And she spends most of her time right there, and it's almost like she's right by the water. So again, it feels like there's a water, what's it called, the connection. And I know we're at an island, and of course there's gonna be water on an island, but not always. You know, you could be on the inland of any of these islands. Like you can be in the middle. You could be in Tokyo, the city, and have no clue you're on an island. You know what I mean? So, but it feels like here we are getting the aspect of being like on the coast, like right along the beach or whatever it is, not touristy in any way, but just like kind of like it's this lovely spot. Like I really don't even want to leave it, and I feel like that's a message. Also, the fact that I feel this way about this lovely little spot that's kind of in the shade, even though you can see sun in the distance while you're working. This message of making sure that your work environment is where you want to be, and that it brings you peace and it brings you calm, and it's a place where you can zone out if you need to. So like whatever work you're doing, you know, you might need to go into trance or go into a nice zoning out place in your mind in order to utilize the energies, whatever it may be. So this is just a message that it's the wisest thing to be in an environment that is conducive to that kind of work, which you may very well be in. But this is showing that the environment's important. Now, it's interesting because her environment is also where she lives. So that's not the case with you. However, this is showing, like, let's say you're dabbling with the idea of going off on your own and doing your own thing, or starting your own not business, well, yeah, starting your own, like, but we're your own places too. You know, it might even be at home or whatever it is. It's just saying if you're dabbling with that idea, the best thing that's going to happen for you is if your environment is the best that it possibly can be according to you. And that might mean that you might need to get into some, you know, if you've started to think about, you know, changing up your house, interior design, all of a sudden you want to move furniture around or get the lighting in or whatever it is, if that's coming up at all, and it doesn't have to come up, but if it is, I feel like we're connecting here as far as making your own, like creating an environment for you that is just, living at the beach basically, but at home, if that makes sense. And again, that doesn't mean you have to, like, you know, you're putting shells everywhere. I'm just saying, like, a home environment or a place where you can work and dwell and be at peace and feel like you can be safe and zone out and daydream and do what you want to do. And it's almost like there's this artistic creative thing coming up. If you feel like you want to start painting or sculpting or doing something artistic, crafty with your hands, I would say definitely go for it, even if it turns out not to be exactly what you thought it would be, or as fun as you wanted it to be. It's going to lead to something else. Just make sure you're doing something artistic. So there's that. Let's see what else. There is the idea again about creating a space for yourself. So it could be the home environment, like we're talking about the whole home, but also it could be literally like making a closet into an office, or turning something into a space where you can go meditate, like making sure you have your own private space that's possibly, if you can manage it, more than just shutting the door to your bedroom kind of thing. Like even if you have a yard and there's a space in your yard where you can set up a small shed or something that is your meditation shed, whatever it is, it feels like there should be more privacy and more solitude in your space if you don't have a space already, or even if you do, just again, privacy, solitude. And I feel like this is going to help you with decision making, clarity, and growth. So keep that in mind. But let's go to the important day, and keep making connections where you can with the island card and the hard work card, because this work card also has this feeling of losing yourself in your work and it doesn't feel necessarily good or bad. It just feels like what's coming up. And so if you find that you are losing yourself in your work, it's not something to judge if, in case you are like feeling bad, like, oh, I took another client and I should be home doing this or that kind of thing. Don't feel bad about yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't, again, it's with these decisions, don't double think yourself. So if you made a decision to take a client instead of going home an hour early, don't double think on that. Don't worry about it. Don't say, oh, should I have done that? This is very distinctly coming through that when you need to learn to make decisions and stand by the decisions and not regret or resent your decision-making process or whatever it is, because this is the only way that you're going to learn to trust yourself more and more. So keep that in mind. Now, this important day here, this is the conquered, they have come, and the welcome card. It felt like when I put this down, it wasn't about conquering, it was about new people coming in, and it felt like this card was them, your friends. So this is the friend card. And this feeling is torn. And I feel like when I laid this down, we're looking at the situation that we come across a lot where our friends give us feedback about things in our lives once we open up to them. And then at the same time, we have to think about things on our own, take in what they say, but also, think about, make decisions or whatever based on what we want, listen to what other people say, family, things like that. There's something that is particular about the friends here. So if there are any friends that come to mind that are giving you, I want to say it's solicited advice. I want to say it's because you are opening up in certain ways about certain things, and then these friends are giving their 2 cents. What I want to say is listen to the friend or friends that you feel really are putting themselves in your shoes in the way where they would be giving themselves this advice rather than just wanting to talk or wanting to give you advice to sound like they're important or sound like they know or sound like they have the answers. Make sure you're discerning between those friends, because I'm not saying at all that some are real friends and some are not real friends. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have some friends that can literally put themselves in your shoes and give you good advice based on what they feel would be the best thing for your best interest, versus those friends who just want to, again, just give you advice, blah, just because they want to, even if they might want to show you they love you and they want to be there for you, and so they'll just say whatever just to sound like they're on your side or knowledgeable or whatever. But you also want to pay attention to those friends that will give you the advice or give you their opinion that doesn't sit well with you, that might be icky just because it's true. You know what I mean? So you want the friends that will tell you how it is, or tell it to you like it is, so to speak, versus the friends that are just like on your side, rooting for you no matter what, encouraging you no matter. And yeah, those are always great friends to have. You want friends that will encourage you every step of the way that you wish to go, but you do need friends that will tell you how it is and tell you the truth with love, even if it's not what you want to hear. So I feel like those are the friends that are coming through here, and these are the friends you're meeting, and I feel like they're karmic, people you might know in this current life, actually, people you travel with. And that's where the feelings of torn is coming in, because it feels like these people come into your life, and it feels like you get to know them during this time that we're here. And then what's happening is it feels like they're coming in from a place that's larger into your small, almost like a village, coming from a small town to your smaller village. Let's say that. And it's almost like they came in because they had family there that died. So they're coming in to kind of figure out what to do with the stuff. That's what it feels like. And in doing so, you meet them, and it's like they employ you for your services. And through that, they come to know you, and you become friends in that way. And it feels almost like these friends are even trying to get you to come with them back to town. Almost like they're saying, hey, you're going to have a lot of work there, and it's like you would thrive. You'd be able to send money home to your family. So this would be actually really good for your family, right? So the torn feelings come in too, because it feels like you know that wherever they want you to go will not be this little quiet place on the beach that you have. This little quiet, even though it's very, again, this is like, I don't want to say third world living, but it's very, what's the word? Like, simple. we'll go with that. It's very simplistic living and easy, and you know how to do it, and it's fine. However, these friends are also stirring the pot a little bit as far as getting you excited about what's out there too. Even though you're happy with what you have, it's like, oh, well, there's more to life. That's kind of interesting. What an interesting idea that there's more to life, right? So it feels like this day is, or this period of time is about you meeting new people, discerning who has your best interest in mind versus who wants you to do something because they just think it's best. And then the decision has to be made. So we're looking at another decision here. Make connections with this where you can, because again, it's just it's another day of decision making. It's the whole concept we were talking about with your friends, discerning friends, not getting rid of friends. Friends are friends, but it's not bad to have a certain hierarchy, if that makes sense. I know it sounds so shitty, but it's not bad to have friends that you can rely on for this, and you can rely on for this, and these friends will make you laugh and perk you up no matter what, while these friends will make you think and consider and say profound things. And so it's good to have a category, what's it called, to categorize your friends in that way, because you love them all. So it's not less love or more love. It's just certain people are in your life for certain things. So it's just like, make sure you're not fooling yourself if you go towards getting the advice of certain people because you want to hear certain things. That's what it is. So just make sure that you are going to the people that you know will be honest with you and truthful and real when it comes to making big decisions in life. Just because a lot of people, I'm not saying you would, but a lot of people would go to the people they know that would give them the go ahead. Like, yes, that's a good decision, go for it. When that might not be in their best interest, right? So basically, again, it's just make sure that you are talking to the right people about the right things, and it would feel natural, again, if you did feel torn about something at this time in your life for this to come up. But you do have friends you can rely on, and then there are also the friends that say, don't listen to your friends. Listen to your gut, and those are the good friends. Those are the not good friends. All your friends are good, but those are the friends that you also want to be around too. Are the ones that say, "Look, don't listen to me. You really got to feel this out for yourself." Those are just another category of friends that you do want to pay attention to, because, some don't want the responsibility of helping you make a decision, but others just know that everyone's life is so different that they can offer an opinion, but it doesn't matter because your life is so different than theirs, So this is just here also to let you know it's all right to feel torn. It's okay to, like we were talking about in the very beginning, being on the fence of something this way or that way. It's okay to linger. It is okay. It's just a message coming through saying you'll be happier once you make the decision and start moving forward. You'll see a lot more stuff happening, like momentum picking up in various parts of your life where things might feel stale or stagnant right now. That's all that is. A little message for that. But it's okay to feel torn. It's almost like a message of honor the feeling of being torn and being unsure and uncertain and human. Honor that feeling. It's okay. It's not going to be there forever, So let's go to the next important day. Keep making connections here. This is the so long farewell until we meet again card. And the feeling here is soulmate. And the feeling the relationship is soulmate, and the feeling is neutral. And on this day, it feels like you do end up leaving. And it feels like the soulmate you're leaving, it's weird because it's so much sadder than other things, but it feels like the soulmate you're leaving is the land. It feels like you're leaving your home in a way where you didn't realize how tied you were to it. Like, it's almost like the day in and day out, the hours passing, the sun going up and coming down, and just seeing how your environment reacts every hour as you work away. It's like left such a deep imprint on you that when you do decide to leave, just to pursue things that sound kind of interesting and fun and exciting because you've never experienced it before in your life, so to you the grass is greener kind of thing, but you leave and this empty feeling is there because you realize, oh, I'm leaving my home, and my home is my family. It's like, and yeah, you are leaving family too, but it's not like you're leaving little kids behind or anything like that. It's like you're leaving, it doesn't feel like you have a husband, it feels like you're leaving grown children, really, and maybe like a sister or something. Like, so you're going with these new friends and you're traveling, and the neutral feeling is you trying to neutralize the almost this weird mourning or grief that you have of leaving your home. So it's a very interesting feeling because it's like it's going one way, a new path that you know is going to be like lucrative, and you're going to learn so much, and you're going to grow in so many ways. But at the same time, it's like all you knew was that home, that place, the doing your job by the water, like that's all you knew. So it's almost like you had to say goodbye to the environment itself and pick up and go in that way. And neutral is like neutralizing the grief and the sadness and even the fear of the new prospect of life that's happening for you, that's coming to you. And so they're showing me you leaving with these people and settling down with these people in their home. And it's like they gave you, almost like you have your own, this is the word that's coming through, so bear with me, but chamber. So it feels like they give you your own chamber. And I would actually Google that for some reason, because that word doesn't usually come through for like a room, but it feels like they give you like a section of the home to do your business in, and then your business grows. And they also find people to work with and for you. So it's like you establish this business in a larger town, and you are able to make money, and you do send money to your home, and you do allow yourself little treats. There's actually something very specific. They show me you drinking a drink you've never drank before, and it's what we would consider a latte here, but it's almost like a tea latte that they have there that's very natural and organic, and it's almost like it's not very sweet. It's actually more like not bitter either, but it's not sweet. Look this up. I would really be interested to know if it is Puerto Rico, or it possibly could be the Philippines because of that P word with the island. But if there is that drink there, it's like you never tried it before, and then now you have it every day. That kind of thing. So it's also like this idea of treat yourself as much as you want, but in moderation. So it's like this drink, this woman, this aspect could have drank all day every day, but she had it once a day, every morning, that kind of thing. So don't be hard on yourself if you find that you're treating yourself to more things that are more comfort food, if that makes sense. Just make sure you're doing it in moderation, not overdoing it for your body's sake. But we also want to talk about the love of the land here and leaving home. So connect with that how you can. If anything, it feels like there is a message that this woman did take a risk and left a home that she loved in order to pursue greater things, and they did turn out to be quite interesting. However, she wouldn't say, I want to say that she wouldn't say that it was a way better life. It was just that it was so different and interesting, and so much more. There was so much more like activity and socialization. Time passed more quickly there in the new place, but she never forgot. It's like whenever she wanted quiet time or she wanted to meditate or whatever it is, she would always think of home. She would always think of being on the banks of that waterway wherever she was doing her work in the quiet. And so there's a love of both lives. And again, this is interesting because it's coming up because we're talking about mostly this overall thing is about decision making. So she made her decision and she was happy with it. However, she never forgot where she came from. So you can make decisions in life where it's totally new, and it can be scary and big changes and all that. And even when you might love it and enjoy the new life, though you might not forget the old life, and that's okay. So this is about finding balance between making those decisions. So she made a decision to leave, and yet she's still a little part of her yearns for home, but she's able to visit home in her own way, whether it's in meditation or maybe she might go home once a year or something like that. But she fully committed to the new life and she's happy with it. So it's like this message of you can make new commitments and new and decisions and choices that lead you down a path where there's all these new things and still miss the old ways, But it doesn't mean that you didn't make the right decision. It just means you're human and you have certain emotional attachments to times gone by where very important things happen to you in your life, you know? So it'd be natural to, you know, miss the old days, or how they say we look back on things with rose-colored glasses, or childhood is always tinged with gold and, you know, a golden memory or whatever. But that's why we leave the past in the past kind of thing. However, this is a message too that if you do make certain decisions that alter your current lifestyle, environment, geography, whatever it is, it's okay to look back. It's okay to remember with fondness. Just make sure you're not dwelling on things and resenting choices that you know what I mean? When you look back in the past, make sure you're looking back with kind of a removed affection rather than an emotional investment, because then you get stuck in the past and it's hard for you to move on when you do that kind of thing. So keep that in mind and keep making connections where you can, especially too, I'm interested in your connection with the land. If you feel drawn to the land of where you are, or drawn to another land where you want to go in your current life, if you've ever been pulled towards an area or you felt like there's a relationship with it, that'd be very interesting. It would also be a message to connect with the land if you aren't connecting enough already to do so. That always helps. And I feel like neutral's also coming up, to make sure you're not remaining neutral in your own life. Don't remain neutral. You can use neutrality in order to neutralize certain emotions that you feel are getting away from you. But don't neutralize your decisions. Don't neutralize your life to the point where you just don't make a decision. You just stand in limbo and stay stagnant for longer than you need to, okay? But keep making decisions where you can. Or keep making connections where you can. Wow, this really is about decisions. Keep making connections where you can. Here, while we go to the death card, with the accident card, I'm trying to see what's coming through here. It feels like you're traveling. It feels like you're traveling home to go visit, and it feels like there is an accident. What happens here? So it feels like there's an accident where something breaks in the leg. It feels like it's a left ankle, or the left ankle, or the left, what's this called? It's called a shin. Yeah. So it feels like ankle or shin bone splinter, fracture, or broken kind of thing on your left side. So it feels like this ultimately caused the death, because it feels like an infection got through this way, and it feels like you didn't get the infection really until you went back to your new home. So you're visiting old home, and during the travels there, something breaks, and it feels like you either it breaks or fractures or whatever. Like there's something with the bone and a split in the skin. It happens either on the way to or from, but so it's during the travel aspect of it, and from there, bacteria gets in, infection spreads, and that's where the death comes. And the death doesn't come until you return back to the town weeks later. It feels like it's weeks and weeks, months maybe. But it's the kind of thing where it's like it's like amputation would have helped, but they didn't get to it on time. And it also feels like it feels like going to a hospital or something wasn't even in the cards. Maybe this has to do, I'm trying to see the time now, because now it's like that's very helpful as far as time. It doesn't feel like super modern times. It feels like it's at the latest, it feels like we're looking at the turn of the 20th century, so like in the 1900s kind of thing is the latest, is what I feel like this is. So that could have been another reason why you weren't able to get medical help in the right way, at least. It feels like they treated it but not properly kind of thing, and then that's what happened. So if you are sensitive to certain things, I mean, it could be allergies, sensitivities to certain foods or chemicals, or even certain natural things, like some people are allergic to grass and sun and this and that. So if there are natural things you're allergic to or sensitive to, that would be a connection. As well would be anything having to do with your ankle or shin. Mostly I would say the left side is what it feels like, but if you've had ankle, shin problems, or like the kind of thing where you notice your left foot is either larger or smaller than your right foot if you've tried on shoes, that kind of thing. What else? Oh, traveling. So if you get nervous while you're traveling for no reason, you might even like traveling, but if you get nervous when you're traveling during certain times, like if you ever feel like, oh, it's too secluded here, or if you're like really weird about making sure your tank is more than halfway filled, or anything that has to do with like traveling in that way, that would be a connection, just because the traveling is what ultimately did her in. So that can translate on the soul as not liking to travel, or at least not liking to travel on foot long distances. But other than that, yeah, this can also be if you're klutzy, quite frankly, because it's the foot, it's an accident, and that could make someone come back and actually be klutzy, but only klutzy in the way where it won't hurt you. Just klutzy as like a weird after effect of what happened here, but just not where it's going to hurt you in that way again. So keep that in mind, keep making connections, and if none of those connections, awesome. But here we're going to the lesson card in simplicity, and this is a perfect card for this because it's just showing this woman did learn the lesson of a simple life and then striking out to do something else that's a little bit greater, but also realizing that there's really quite nothing like going back home or revisiting, even in her mind, that quiet place, that simplistic lifestyle she had. It's her happy place. So when things feel overwhelming to you, I feel like what's coming through mostly from this card is when things seem stressful, overwhelming, just your mind is moving a million miles a minute, that kind of thing. This would be kind of a message to either one, have a happy place. Go find a quiet, happy place where you can go. I would say by the water if you could. Even if it's like a restaurant that is by the water and you just order one drink or just have tea somewhere where you can like relax. It doesn't have to be like an isolated riverbank, and it could be, but just have that happy place ready to go to physically or in your mind. Build the happy place in your mind. Pick a place that you've gone to in meditation that's beautiful and comforting and peaceful, and just start to go there every day and visit and take time to come to a peaceful place in your mind there. I would say in the morning before you go do your work, or at night, whatever it is. And this will help with clarity in your regular life. This will help with de-stressing, with just relaxing, to being able to take a step back way easier and look at the bigger picture. That kind of thing helps when you have a place like this in your mind or physically. And if you have it physically, you can always visit it in your mind. Let's say you have a great restaurant where there's a latte and you could sit and look at the river or whatever. You can always visit that place in your mind, mentally meditate there. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Keep making connections with simplicity wherever you can, however you can. And anyway, so there is your past life reading. And hopefully that is relevant and it's helpful and you're able to make some connections here. And thanks for letting me read you.